So um, let's get started. So one thing I recommend is the Unity Hub. This is my copy of the Unity Hub. This is something you can download from Unity. I believe somewhere in there is a link to this. And one of the nice things about the Hub is that it allows you to manage many different versions of Unity. I have uh, a lot of different versions of Unity ranging from a 5.6, several 217s, a bunch of 218s, 219s, and I recently downloaded 2020 so that I could keep up with you guys. The Hub also has this Learn page that links to various projects as well as various tutorials, some of which will actually will be the examples that the base games that you start from in modifying for a final project. And it also keeps track of all of the current projects that you're working on, sorted basically by date. So the most recent things I've been opening are here at the top, and other things are further down in the list. And it lets you choose which version of Unity you're going to use. Now, I understand many of you will only install one version, but the Unity Hub is still an excellent tool for uh, uh, keeping track of your projects as well as what versions of Unity you've installed. And it also has a link to the Unity community that is things like the forum and some other stuff, all of which is very useful to have handy. So uh, having downloaded a copy of Unity, and I recommend either 219 or 2020. 218 is fine too. 217 is a little out of date, but 218 or 219 are both quite good. I will mostly be working in 219 because that's what I have on hand for the various demos. But things upgrade. Unfortunately, they don't downgrade. So once you've upgraded a project, you can't open it in a lower level editor, at least not easily. So we get a copy of Unity from this link, install it, put it on the dock somewhere. Here I have a copy in the dock. I also have the hub in the dock, and we're ready to open our 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 game. Oh, here's the link to the hub download. It makes downloading, installing, and handling multiple versions of Unity easier, and is a worthwhile download. Um, so let's start off with a new project. So I'll go into the hub here. I'll pick new. I'll pick a 219. I'll pick a folder where I want the game to go. So this is in lesson 1, and I can give it a name. First day project. Um, and there are some other options here, but I'm not going to talk about them at this point. But I do want a 3D version. And I'll create this. And the first time you load a Unity folder project, it takes some time because it's loading a bunch of stuff. It's partially compiling things. So the first time you load something can take a fair amount of time, but every subsequent loading, it'll load quickly because it'll have stuff compiled into its library and everything's ready to go. And so here's my here's my game engine all set up here, ready to go. Um, by default, I have a scene, sample scene, which is what I'm in right now. You can see up here, it says sample scene. That's the scene that I'm in. It tells me the project name, first day project, and what version of Unity I'm using here. This sample scene and any new scene that you create, will come up with a camera. There's the camera and a directional light. There's the light. And these show here, these are game objects that are by default entered into any scene. It also has a kind of fancy skybox that we'll talk about later. Oh, I didn't mention, but when you're loading it, there is an option to download packages that you've already gotten from the asset store. So for instance, if you've already downloaded the standard assets, you don't have to download it again. You can include it at that opening scene. Now, we'll talk about the Unity interface. It has a bunch of windows. There's the scene, the game, the hierarchy, the project, and the inspector. These are kind of standard windows that we use all the time. Others that will open when we need them are things like the animation, the console, and there are a lot of different windows. The windows are all available from this pull down here, scene, game, inspector, hierarchy, project, console. Then there are lighting settings, light explorer, animation, animator, audio mixer, timeline, lots and lots of windows that you can add to your layout here. So each window, each of these windows can be moved around. You can grab the tab of one of the windows and move it where you want it to be. And so you can kind of rearrange the screen to match the way you want it to be. I have now the scene and the game view over here, but if I don't like it that way, I can split it back the way it was there, and I can open and close the different tabs. If I wanted to close the console tab, I could close it or minimize it. And I can switch among all these different windows that I have open, and I can rearrange it by dragging these things around and putting them where I want them. The layout is customizable in the sense that once you get a layout that you like, you can save it. Here's a whole bunch of different layouts that I have. Things like lighting that has my lighting and light explorers in it. Profiling that has the profiler view. There are a bunch of kind of standard ones that automatically come with Unity, the 2x3, the 4 split, the default, what are some other standards? Tall. These are all standard ones that are built in. I like to use my lighting window. This is where I usually work, because this is what I'm comfortable with. But I do often, when I'm doing animation or something else, I'll open one of the windows that is tailor-made for doing that particular task. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. So arrange them and save them. When you want to save a tab, go up here and save the layout and give it a name, and you have it saved. So let's look at some of the different windows. First off, the project window. The project window is where all of the assets, all of the things that you have available to you in your project are stored. And right now, here in the project view, under assets, all I have is a folder called scenes that contains the sample scene that I'm in. there's also some packages. We'll talk about them later. Um, I'll bring in some other assets. I'll import a custom package, and these are standard assets uh, that I've broken out so that I don't have to download the whole standard assets. And here I'm just going to pick a subset of this. I'm not going to bother with the rollerball or the first person, the third person character, but I will bring in the first person character and I'll import that. And it's now compiling it. And notice now I have another folder called standard assets that has within it several subfolders. And of course, one of the folders contains the first person character that for which I have these prefabs. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So you can, of course, create your own folder. So here in Assets, I'm going to pull down and create a folder, and I'll call this something like Materials. I often put underscore in front of the names of folders. That floats them to the top. The folders in the project view are alphabetical. So it goes assets, packages, and then inside assets, it goes scenes and standard assets. So you can't reorder them yourself, but to make folders that appear up near the top, putting an underscore in front of it will float that to the top. So one warning, don't make a folder named assets. This confuses Unity for some reason. You can call it my assets or the assets, but not just plain assets. That confuses it. So with our scene here, our sample scene that there's nothing in, if I save it, it stores it back to disk. If I save as, it gives me the option of where to put it and what to name it. And of course, I can make new scenes and open existing scenes, which you can do just by clicking on a scene in the project view.